Welcome to this cabinet meeting, the first cabinet meeting of this administration. If you're joining us from home, enjoy the meeting. We begin in our normal way by taking any apologies for absence. I think we've got John Riddle and Simon is not coming.
Yes, indeed.
Right, okay. And then we have any declarations of interest, and we know the routine with that. And I haven't received any, so I shall press on it as normal. Agenda item 2 is the minutes of the last meeting held on the 8th of April. And they are there for everyone's standing. If there are any questions, let me know now. If not, then could I have a proposal for those?
Opposed.
And seconded, and all in favour. So I will sign those later on. Thank you. So our first agenda item this morning is the county partnership update. This is something I'm really proud of staff, particularly Chief Executive, for deciding to get going and find the worthiness of gathering very important people in all the key partner organisations to meet to have the following modus operandi, their shared mission, which is a 20-year commitment to ensuring people have fair access to the building blocks for a good life, such as a decent income, a good quality job, safe, affordable and warm housing, as well as good quality education and training opportunities. By tackling inequalities, we want to reduce the gap in experiences our residents have across health, education, employment and social outcomes. So this is a very, very important commitment and very important that the right people sit around the table and decide on how they're going to deliver this. And I'm very pleased to say that there's been tremendous progress on this really good project. I'm particularly grateful, as I say, to the Chief Executive, who has got hold of this and said, we're going to do this. And everyone has been very happy to join her. For example, Tarsus, Ariat Boomer, Port of Blythe, Northumbria University, Newcastle University, Northumbria Police, Northumbria Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, the Chamber of Commerce, Carbon Homes, Benicia Homes, the Federation of Small Business, CBI, the Citizens Enterprise and others, all of whom come together on a regular basis with that sole aim of tackling inequalities. And it's very appropriate that they have this because, after all, tackling inequalities remains into this new administration one of our key 3 priorities that we want to see delivered. Very unusual indeed for a county council to have simply 3 key priorities, one of which is around doing what we can to tackle inequalities and make this county a fairer, better place, to raise motivation, aspiration and confidence in people so they can feel in themselves that they are playing out a meaningful role in society. So it's really important work, this, and I'm deeply grateful. And I believe there is a conference taking place later this month around housing and how housing is so important and employment to raising aspiration and reducing inequality. So very good. And we, for example, actually, we were at Energy Central in Blythe last week, where Northumberland County Council have contributed to half the cost of that building, and has played a huge role in making sure that becomes one of the finest places for people to take on training that will guide them into the world of employment. And I think that is a great demonstration of the County Council's determination to not just provide value for money, not just drive business and jobs, but actually to raise aspiration, tackle inequality. So great piece of work there, and of which I was most proud to be there. So this is the county partnership. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who gives up their time and continues to be motivated and very much joined together in this really important work. So with that, the recommendations are to note the report, outline the activities and the achievements. And we would like to receive an annual report from the Chief Executive, which will keep us fully briefed on the work and will make us as proud next year as I'm sure it does this year. So with that, I will propose those recommendations, and I have a seconder in Councillor Mather. Are there any questions before we go to the vote? No, I think everyone's happy.
I do have a comment.
Yes, please do.
Which is that just again to reiterate your thanks to everyone who's been working on this. It's the bit that blurs the edges of all of these organisations. So let's just use the example of the police, of the NHS, of the council. There are lots of people who, if you're not careful, there's a hard edge to those organisations, and that's about this. The whole endeavour is designed to blur those edges, to make sure that no one slips through the gaps, to make sure that we've got a holistic approach to making sure that people are thriving in the county. It's really important from my perspective in terms of the regeneration piece, so that when you've got, for example, we'll use Blythe Town Centre as an example, where you have lots of investment coming in from ourselves and from, in particular, the previous government, as you've outlined, with things like the Energy Central Institute, but the next stages of these projects as well. But if we aren't in lockstep with, say, the NHS in tackling drug dependency, or the DWP in terms of getting people off and out of long-term unemployment, and got programmes that are absolutely connected and there's a thread that goes through the whole thing, then we find that our work has the potential to be undone, or to come undone, at least at the edges, and that's not what we want. And this is exactly why the county partnership's important, and why it's been successful as well. And we're a year and a bit or so into it, and already we can see the results. Lots of really positive feedback from partners, and from people who've been engaging with the process, but as well from residents who are seeing the effect on the ground already.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I completely agree, and I think the praise to the Chief Executive is actually it is really necessary, because it's right that the County Council should be involved at the highest level with all of these organisations, and with that hub of energy and strategic vision. Those people will make the right decisions to help us meet that goal of tackling inequality. So it's a very, very good piece of work, and I'm very grateful. So thank you very much to you for that. Okay, so will you all show me if you're happy with the proposal? Yes, those recommendations are fine. Thank you very much. We then move on to the enterprise agreement license renewal. And I go to our Councillor McDonald, who is our current member for Finance and Value for Money, to tell us a little bit about this, please.
Thank you, Leader. So this is a report to recommend approval to start a procurement process for Microsoft 365 licenses. The council decided back in 2019 to switch over to Microsoft to sort of basically improve the tools for council officers and staff to work with, and I think that's been proven to be a sensible, sound decision. But obviously the licenses do need to be reviewed and renewed every 3 years. So there are three options in the report. The first is to do nothing, which is obviously not a viable option, because suddenly the tools that people need to do their jobs well would not be available. The second would be to do a direct award. That's not possible because of the national procurement regulations. And the third is to begin a procurement tender from an established and well-recognised framework. So The council is recommending to use a framework called the KCC Public Sector Framework, and a review of the frameworks has been done, and this has been selected as the most efficient framework for this work, and it speaks to our determination and our corporate priority of value for money. We want to try and provide the best possible value for money. This framework brings together lots of public sector organisations who combine their massive buying power to get the best possible prices. So that's the recommendation, and I think that ties in very well with our corporate priority of value for money, and B, the work that we're doing through the BEST programme to make this as efficient as possible council, and spend taxpayers' money as well as possible. So the recommendation is to go with that option, to use the KCC framework, and to begin the procurement tender process as soon as possible.
Thank you. So would you propose the recommendation?
Yes, I propose the recommendation to use the KCC framework.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Richard. Okay, any questions, queries, thoughts on this one? Very important bit of housekeeping that will make us efficient and run our services even better. So it's good investment for the future. Okay, so being proposed and seconded, are you all in favour of the recommendation? Yep, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So now we come to quite a meaty report, which I'm going to ask Nick Oliver to tell us about the financial performance and the position at the end of February 2025, and it's what we call the provisional outturn. And I think the key point in this is that we have shown yet again that the finances of this council are very well run, that we are in a strong financial position, and this is actually despite the challenging settlement financially, despite the financial settlement we've had from the government. We will press on and continue to deliver. All those things are really important, whilst remaining in a strong financial place. And so I'm very grateful to all the officers concerned. Nick, could you just tell us a little bit more about this and where some of the big pressures are coming?
Yes, no, thank you, Leader. It is a long and very detailed report, and you'll be happy to know I'm not going to go through it in too much detail. It's a provisional year-end outturn as of the end of February, so there is one more month to be sort of accounted for. But I've spoken to Jan. We're not expecting any big surprises. I'll give you some key highlights and lowlights of what's happened during the first 11 months of this year. And I think as with many councils right across the country, the biggest pressure is coming from social care. And in Northumberland, there's been an overspend, or there's a forecast overspend to the end of March of around £10 million. And for example, there's sort of two pressures there. The first pressure is increasing demand, which I think everybody is facing, and also another pressure which everybody is facing, which is increasing cost base for providing this care. And by way of an example, there have been a rise in out-of-county placements from 44 to 75 since September 23 in Northumberland, and they are very expensive. They are necessary, but they are expensive. So, and I'm sure Guy will talk about some of the things that we're doing to sort of to offset those costs. There's been an overspend in adults social care of £2.6 million, and again, there's a lot of work being done to sort of manage that, and it's a pressure that every council across the country is facing. And another example there, complex placements, younger adults can be as much as £135,000 per person per year. So it is an expensive service to provide, but it is one we are required to provide. Some of those overspends have been offset by basically sound financial and treasury management and prudent budgeting. There's been reduced borrowing requirement, which is partly about the reprofiling the capital programme, which I'll talk about in a moment. There's been a lot of work done as part of the BEST programme to reduce bad debt and collecting the council's debt, and that's had some fantastic results. And there's also been some longer term debt restructuring to take advantage of better interest rates, and I think that's saving around about £3 million. The capital programme has been £62 million has been reprofiled, but there has been total investments in our infrastructure in this county of 265 million. 108 million of that has been in transport, including the massively important Northumberland Line project. There's been £50 million spent in education, improving our school stock. And there's been £12 million in improving the housing and building new housing in Northumberland. Much of that is funded with external finance that have been received from, well, in this case, the previous government and other external bodies. We continue to sort of manage our finances and our level of borrowing in a very sensible way. We're comfortably within our borrowing limits of 69%. And I remember back in 2017, when I first became a councillor, the council's borrowing figure was roughly similar to where it is now, and it was forecast to rise to £1.4 billion. That hasn't happened. So 8 years of this administration has managed that sensibly, and we're around about 750 million. There's been, as I mentioned, £44 million restructured in the council borrowing as well. And then I think it's worth just saying a few words about the BEST programme, which is one of the core. It sort of speaks to the core priority of this council of providing value for money. This programme was set up 18 months ago, and in this last financial year has found £7.4 million in savings, and £2.8 million of those are recurrent savings. So it's overperforming against its budget overall, and I think it's really important that we thank all of the officers and the staff that have sort of basically embraced this process and are working so hard to make this council a more efficient place without having an impact on frontline services, which has been another key priority of ours. I think just it's probably worth saying a few words. We've got within here a little bit more detail on the comprehensive spending review this week, and we don't know precisely. There's been a lot of sort of trailing in the press. I think our concern is that there may be a shifting of funding away from county councils towards metropolitan councils, but we'll find out within the next day or so about that, and we'll obviously have to react to that as we start our budgets for next year, more later. And the final point is that we do have continuing healthy reserves, so which again a reflection of sound financial management over many years. The recommendations in this report, I won't go through them one by one, but they're all listed on page 33 and 34. So I'd like to close those recommendations.
Thank you very much, Nick. That's very helpful. I wonder, Guy, could you just give us a brief update on what we are doing to try and help us with the cost of Cared for Children and ourselves?
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to the Cared for Children, and I'm sure members of the public watching know, we've been utilising the powers that were given to us at the back end of the last government, which makes registering new children's homes easier. So you can now have one main base of a children's home, and you can register 6 satellite bases to that main home. Previously we couldn't do that, now we can do that. So you'll have seen in the papers and the press and in our own papers, we've been buying houses in towns and getting planning permission to change them into residential children's homes. And it may seem a lot of money to buy a house for one child or 2 children, but when the alternative is paying 30-40 grand a week for those children, it soon starts to add up. So, I mean, my long-term aim, what I'd love to be able to do, is not only build enough home places to look after our own children, but be able to bring in children from neighbouring authorities and across the country, so that this service actually starts to bring some money into the council rather than us sending money elsewhere in the country. When it comes to SEND provision and the overspends there, well, this is one where we're looking very closely at the government's spending review. I think Nick said we're going to find out next week or the week after. There has been talk of the government stepping in to relieve some of the pressure on that service, but then it's not going to be balanced up against school budgets. But we'll just have to wait and see. We're doing what we can with regards to building new special school places evenly across the county, so we're not having to send children in expensive public transport or taxis to get them from, say, Berwick to Blythe or Prudhoe to Alnwick. You know, we want to have an even spread across the county, so we're driving down the costs of transporting children with special educational needs.
Good, thank you very much. Anything else? Yes, Gordon Stewart.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yesterday, I met some business leaders who were concerned about the employers' national insurance contributions rise, which I know has had a detrimental impact upon the county council as well. We have had some support from the current government, but in reality, it is still, we're suffering from that, and also of many businesses throughout the whole county.
No, exactly. Okay, if there's nothing else, can I thank officers across the council for running such a tight ship, and hopefully those people who think that somehow this council is not, that they read this report and they'll see just how sad we are financially, despite the very challenging settlement that we've had recently from the government, and despite the fact that the fears of the comprehensive spending review that Nick Oliver raised may well come to fruition, they being, in the words of a leading Labour councillor, that urban poorer areas deserve more funding than rural areas. And that's got to be something that can't be right. All councils deserve fair funding. To take money from one to give to another needs to have very strong reasoning and very strong evidence. We look forward, if this does happen, to seeing what evidence it is, and making sure that our voice is heard. But in the meantime, thank you all very much indeed for everything you've done. And we are cracking on with a capital bid, I think, Richard, for building children's accommodation and buying those as well, because we actually would much rather save in the current climate, and also I think it's got to be a good thing that a care for a child is, I would have thought, much better in most cases being in the county in which they are, in which they were born and which they are aware, than sending them, like we have to do at the moment, to homes as far down as London and as far north as Scotland. So we are very much tackling this particular issue. So I need a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Stewart. So are you all in favour of these recommendations? Yes, that's great. Good. Well, we look forward to the comprehensive spending review and hopefully for fairness across the piece. Okay, so we move on to agenda item 7. Which is a summary of the new capital proposals considered by our Office of Capital Strategy Group. These have been through the process of ensuring that our 3 priorities are met within any spending proposal, and they're here before us 2 this morning. I'm going to ask, I'll take them both one by one, and then we'll take a vote on both of them at the end.
Thank you. So there are 2 proposals here for approval, and the first one is our 2 new native woodlands in Hadston and Redrow, and this is funding that is £48,000 worth of funding that's been received from the Forestry Commission, England Woodland Creation Fund, and is being spent on creating woodlands. So it's basically a net cost of nil to the council because the money's coming in from elsewhere, and I think it would be. We'd all support creation of extra woodland in our beautiful county. The second proposal is to spend 3.364 million over 2 years from the housing revenue account major repairs reserve on repairing the roofs of 424 houses, largely in the Cramlington area. So it's good news for residents in our housing in Cramlington. And I think this is demonstrates our commitment as an administration to providing and maintaining our social housing stock. And so I recommend both items.
Thank you very much. Any questions on either of these? Any queries? Yes.
I'll let me comment on the investment in our housing. It's the start of a new council cycle, but this is just a continuation of what we've been doing over the past two administrations, a massive investment in our housing stock. We over 8,000 houses, and that takes a looking after that amount of houses. And this itself is a huge figure. It's 5% of our homes here get new roofs on. And it's good because we have a duty of care to our tenants. We've got to make sure their houses are in good condition. We've got to worry about damp. We've got to worry about mould. We've got to meet the new housing regulator conditions, which we had an inspection last year, impact of flying colours. So I really welcome this massive investment into the Cramlington area. The good thing about this is that apart getting new roofs on, the residents, the tenants can remain in their homes. And the title work is undertaken, so don't have to decant them into other properties. And I absolutely thoroughly welcome this massive investment.
Good, I agree. I think it's a very important investment. Only right that we keep our houses up to date and in good condition, which we are. On the woodland one, I think it's really clever for the council to attract the funding that's there. So it won't be at any cost to us. Not just the cost of planting, but also the cost of maintenance for years to come will also be met by a revenue grant. So that's very important, and it will be delivered by the team that are delivering our Great Northumberland Forest, which, as I think most know, is a tremendous initiative by Northumberland County Council. And it's going really well across the county. So great stuff, and I'm sure it will be a great benefit to Hadston and Red Road.
I could make a comment on that. The Great Northumberland Forest team are very well respected within the communities and how they're flexible and a positive approach to this, working with land managers and owners. This isn't about trying to force woodland planting on anybody. It's about the right tree in the right place. And for the amount of external funding that they have brought in is testament to the team that's doing that. And it's been greatly appreciated by the communities that has used it. So.
No, that's good. No, that's really good to hear. Yeah, no, that's good. So it's been proposed, seconded by Councillor Horncastle. Are you all in favour? Yep, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Nick. The Highways Resurfacing Contract Award, I'm going to ask Mark Mather to tell us about.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. We're looking for Cabinet approval to award a highways resurfacing contract to DSD Construction Limited after a successful procurement exercise. They offer the highest quality submission at the lowest cost to the council. The reason it's in front of us today is because it's anticipated to be over 2.5 million, and we're aiming for the contract to start in June 2025. Initially, it'll be a 2-year term with a chance of extending it twice with 1 yearly contract, so it'll be up to 4 years. We have our own in-house resurfacing team. This flexibility allows us to use them to their full potential while still being able to deliver for the residents in Northumberland and have a backup plan of flexibility in response if there's anything that does creep up. We've used this method for the last 10 years. It's not a contract that has to be spent. This is a flexible approach that will be used if needed. So that's where it's from, Mr. Leader.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. And there is a recommendation. Are you going to propose that?
Yeah, I'd like to propose that the Cabinet is recommended to approve the award of the highway surfacing contract to DSD Construction Limited as the highest quality submission and lowest cost to the council.
Thank you very much, Mark. That's seconded by Councillor Patterson. Any questions, queries on this? I think we all would say that everyone that speaks to us these days say how much better the roads are. And I can say thank you very much to Paul and to the highways team. And it's good to see a genuine improvement right across the highways, and that's thanks to doing this job efficiently, finding extra money to do it with, and the task, which is so huge when we think about how many miles of roads we have. The fact that we have done so much seems to me, and most people, in fact, everyone I speak to say how much better the roads are, is testament to the team we have. So thank you very much indeed. Really good. So it's been proposed and seconded, and so we need to vote on this. All in favour? That's lovely. Thank you. So now we move on to the provision of food waste services to households. This is about how we are going to improve our recycling rate and to draw down the initiative that's come from our council and also from the previous government's initiatives to recycle food waste in a way that prevents it from going into bins and thus increasing the weight in bins and thus making the weight of the material in a bin that's either going to incineration or landfill less, so that we can actually recycle more. And it was a great idea, and it's been built up over a number of years. Recently, the new government have taken on this, but sadly, we don't have sufficient money from government to be able to make this work across the whole of the county, which is what we had hoped. We have been allocated around £2.9 million, and that makes us about 1.5 million short of what we need to provide this service throughout the whole county. So what we're going to have to do when this starts next year is to concentrate on the built-up areas where we can most efficiently pick up as much as we can. And that will be round about the southeast of Northumberland. It will be Morpeth area, Ponteland area. But it won't be everywhere. And I know that many people will be very disappointed in that because they want to participate in this very worthy recycling initiative. It is regrettable that the government are not going to fund this to allow us to do that. And as I say, very disappointing for those people and disappointing for us because we wanted it to cover as many people as we possibly could. To that end, we are lobbying DEFRA and our officers are continuing to meet with their officials to ask that we receive the appropriate funding to make this work across the county. And I've actually written to DEFRA ministers myself to basically outline the reasons why we are very keen to be able to do this ourselves, to be able to get to, if not every home, then almost every home in the county. So we will continue to lobby as hard as we can to make sure that our voice is heard, because it's not a huge amount of extra money we're needing, but something that is absolutely essential if we're going to do what we want to do. And I think other councils are doing the same. We are not alone in this. Particularly the rural councils who are not getting the level of funding that they need. Despite that, I am grateful for the way our team have worked up this proposal for Northumberland. They have bought the equipment to beat the rush because there has been significant demand for new vehicles. So we're ready to go. And we will get going. And we've seen that in the pilot that we carried out in Northumberland over the recent 12 to 18 months, that food waste collection can work. It is popular. and that it does make a difference to recycling rates. So we're ready to go. We just need the government to dig into their pockets a little deeper. And if their commitment is the same as ours, they will then find the money to allow us to cover the whole county. In the meantime, we are going to go with what we can do at the moment, the very best we can do at the moment, which will be that area I've described. There are 5 recommendations in here. I think I've summarised the key ones. And so with that, I'd like to propose those recommendations. Seconded.
I'm happy to second that with some comments.
Yes,
Maybe as well, just to echo your points around funding, but first of all, the preparedness of the team. They've done a brilliant job. We've been talking about this for a good period of time. We've gathered a lot of information from the work that we did with the sort of the testing of this, and so hearty well done to all of the officers involved. It will come back to it in terms of a full rollout to that question of funding, and unfortunately, there's a pattern emerging here, and we're being. I'm going to be political about it. Don't really enjoy it. Our MPs are failing us. We have 4 Labour MPs in this county, and the problem emerges across every bit of the piece. When it comes to Berwick schools, the money doesn't seem to be forthcoming to assist us in that regard. It's falling on our shoulders. When it comes to waste and recycling, that's being put on to us. When it comes to dualling the A1, money's being stripped away, and yet there's money that comes into the region. It's just not coming to the long-established priorities of the people here in Northumberland. Joe Morris, David Smith, Emma Foodie and Ian, they need to start rattling some cages down in Westminster, because this isn't good enough. We're being failed consistently, and we want to see a change.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think, I have to agree that the recent transport allocation ignored Northumberland's needs. It ignored the Moor Farm roundabout, for example. Although I was pleased to see that the local MP there, following our comments, decided that she would raise it in Parliament, and so hopefully we'll make some progress working with her office so that we can get that voice louder in Parliament, and similarly with this. Colin.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I obviously was heavily involved in this going back the last 3 years or so, and when we first started looking at this, we had every intention of providing this service over the whole county. And we were looking at the routes, the type of vehicles we needed, the types of containers we needed to make this project work. And it wasn't until the new burdens money came in that we realised that you said 1.5, I haven't got the figures in front of me. I thought it was 1.9, but it's roughly that figure. Short to make it work. So we're then left with the problem of, how do we cover the most number of houses with the money we've got? Because it's obviously that the DEFRA formula, the formula they use, does not work in rural areas and rural authorities. It hasn't worked here. So, like I say, this was my portfolio up until the end of April. And we came up with this, was the only way to get the most houses covered with the money we've got. Can't do the whole county. It's no good. We looked at different ways of maybe doing along the Tyne Valley, maybe doing Hexham and maybe Hogwhistle, and everybody along the way would complain that we're not getting covered. The easiest, the simplest way to do it is do it in the heavily populated southeast, and if more money is available, then we can work out from there.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else from anyone else? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the correct amount of money to allow us to do this, so that everyone that wants to be involved can be. But until we get the correct level of funding, we are not going to be able to do that. And that is something which is disappointing for those residents and very disappointing for us. But nevertheless, we will continue the pressure on DEFRA, and I'll see if I get a reply to our letters. So we do. Okay, so proposed and seconded, all in favour? Please show. Yeah, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Really important initiative. Can't wait for it again. Okay, so another bit of good news. So I'm going to ask Irene Thompson, a cabinet member for children and young people, to tell us about the inspection, the very heavy going inspection, the very detailed inspection that took place on us in January around our Northumberland Skills Programme and our training and skills training for young people.
Yes, of course. So Northumberland Skills was Ofsteded back in January, which you, of course, you're aware of now. Northumberland Skills is our in-house post-16 education provider. Think of it like Northumberland College or Newcastle College or Sunderland College, but run by council. We've got 729 learners, or we did at the time of the inspection, and that's split between there's 404 adult learners, so over 18, and the rest of them are young people. And of those young people, half of them have special educational needs. And the aim of our service really is to well, fill the gap where the other post-16 providers aren't. So that's why we have, SEN classes in Alnwick and Ruddow, and we offer courses that, Northumberland College aren't, because we don't want to be competing with them, but we recognise the needs of our residents, and according to the Ofsted report, we recognise those needs incredibly well, which is why we got the rating and the comments that we did. Tackling inequalities is one of our key priorities, as you said, Leader. And the way to tackle inequalities is to give people the skills to be able to go out into the wider world and make a good living for themselves and be able to remain living in Northumberland, because for too long, too many of our young people have had to leave for the bright lights of the big city to get a decent job and decent wages. Well, we want to reverse that trend. And we're doing that with our industrial programme. We've seen these great new industries coming into the county, and we want to make sure that our young people are able to move into those jobs. Hence why we had the official opening of the Energy Central Learning Hub in Blythe on Friday, of which Northumberland Skills runs that alongside the port and Bede Academy. So it's a programme that we're very proud of. It's a programme that wants to be repeated by other councils across the country. And I'm very happy with this report. Next time we want to be get outstanding, but good is still a very good grade.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. No, we were very, very, very proud indeed of the rating, especially, as I say, given the depth and the width of the inspection. And we are very well served indeed by that service, and thank you very much for that. And we look forward very much to joining through our welding centre, which I think is doing very well, Guy. It is. At teaching new skills to people, allowing them to then move on and get jobs. Richard.
Thank you, Leader. So yeah, this is a really good outcome. I feel it's a little bit harsh. I think we're probably thereabouts on outstanding already, or we must be right at the edge of it. And I think that was the feedback that I got when we were talking to some of the people who undertook the interviews and so on as a part of the process. We're very close to that, and that's it's as a lot of hard work by the cabinet, by all councillors, and in particular by Neil, by Audrey, and the team who've done a brilliant job at getting us to where we wanted to be. Skills. This is a really important part that guys meant by tackling inequalities, about providing opportunities for people across all parts of the county. And the bit that I really take a lot of heart from is wherever I go in terms of my portfolio in regen and business and economy, is that where people have come into contact with the team and with the courses that we're providing, that they're incredibly enthusiastic. That it's tailored to what they need. They've engaged with it and helped form the sort of the curriculum and the pathway for these programs. I would say to any businesses who are not engaged but are struggling in terms of the skills gaps that they might have, that they get in contact and I'm sure we'll be able to do even better and even more work where the more people that we're engaged with. And you know that you have to be doing it well when the education secretary pops up and tries to take the credit for it the other day, just like they did with the data center and AI campus and so on and so forth. Really need to emphasise the point that these programmes, the likes of the Energy Central Institute and Learning Hub and so on, it was created here in Northumberland by this administration and the previous ones, and it's been made a success by ourselves and by the officers here, helped by the last government, and let's take a little hat off as well to Jamie Driscoll, who gave us some of the funding as well along the way, and we're very grateful for that.
Indeed, I won't comment anymore other than say I thought the choice of photographs being used by the Journal and also by the BBC were interesting. In that neither featured Northumberland County Council, who've paid for half of this with the driving force behind it, and obviously the money and the initiative came from the previous Conservative government and had nothing to do with anyone else in that picture. Never mind. There we are. We'll live and breathe and always respect and adore the Journal, will we not? Despite that. Anything else from anyone else? No, I think you've been proposed and seconded. Are you all in favour of this report? That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. So that's Northumberland Schools. That takes us on to our final paper today, which is around nominations to outside bodies, which I won't read out the whole list. Some of these are need to go to cabinet members, but there are some that I'd quite like to offer to some of the other groups. So if you can bear with me, Karen, for a few days, I will come back to you with the full list once I've had a talk to some of the other group leaders. Okay. And that takes us to the end of the meeting. Can I thank you all very much indeed, officers and colleagues, for this meeting. For anyone that's joined us at home, thank you very much indeed. And I'm sure you will join with us in the good news that we have been able to share in today. Thank you.